Welcome back to Castle Rock AM. Reporting from the attic of Needful Things, this is CM Alexander with the news. Rev up your engines because the Motocops 2200 parade tour is coming through Castle Rock. The popular kids show, featuring the likes of Rudy the Robot and Cassie Stiles, will leap off the screen and onto the streets for one day only. A recent review of the parade from Wentworth, Ohio, said kids and adults had a blast. Everyone was really taken by storm. This has been Castle Rock AM. You're listening to Castle Rock AM.
Welcome back to Castle Rock AM, your bi-weekly Richard Bachman Book Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Kahn, alongside CM Alexander.
Hey there.
And Benjamin Graham.
What's up, eternal book nerds?
And we are covering The Regulators, our Patreon selection from Anthony Natarelli, and we are covering through Chapter 4 with Ben leading our discussion. Ben, take it away.
Okay, so this book, we have to start off with what we are first given. This book starts with a map, y'all.
Hell yeah! Love a book with a map!
I get so excited, and I am really still upset that we didn't get a map at the beginning of Desperation, Richard Bachman's book that is the twinner of this, you know, his alter ego, Stephen King wrote.
Yep.
R.I.P., really. Does anybody have anything to say? Did anybody continually go back to the map throughout reading?
I printed it out. And I put it in, it's in the studio right now.
We're all looking at it.
Yeah, I took my book to work and scanned the page and then printed it out so that we could have it because I think it's so fucking cool.
The specificity of where everyone is on the street is weirdly important.
Yes.
And it's easy to keep track of somehow.
Yeah.
With the map.
Yeah. Well, that's something I usually, when I'm reading a book, it's not something I focus on. I don't really lay out the characters like that, but Bachman does such a good job of it. It's noticeable.
Yeah, the street is a character.
In regards to maps in books, because this is a very small contained map, it is... it's Poplar Street and the houses on either side, and that's all of the city block we pretty much get, as opposed to, say, Lord of the Rings, where you have the entire world map.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's such a different scope. So when you open a book, you see a map. The size of the map gives you an idea of what you're in for. And seeing a map so intimate made me so excited because, you know, I love those closed bottle stories.
Yeah.
And it's especially cool because having just read Desperation, you look at the map.
Yeah.
And you recognize so many of the names. Which, should we talk about it now?
About the impossible neighbors?
Yeah. Do we talk about it now or do we wait until we start meeting our characters?
Let's do it when we meet our characters.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we meet our characters and get into the story in Chapter 1, we have a postcard from William Guerin to his sister, Audrey Weiler. I would talk about this, but I can't read it.
Oh, because they don't teach cursive in school anymore.
I know cursive, CM. I'm 35 years old. I'm a goddamn man.
I'm a man who can read cursive. Back off.
But not
my fault. Sorry.
Not this handwriting. I'd love to know if it was Bachman's handwriting.
Does anybody remember what it said? Because I didn't write down what it says.
It is.
I wrote down, ask you guys what it said. I read it back. I read this twice, as I always do. And that's not gonna land.
You're just lying.
We were gonna let it live in the edit. Yeah.
It's an alternate reality, CM.
I read it twice. We actually do get it later on in the book. It's narrated. I've been listening to it and I read it, so I do know what it says.
I kind of figured it out from reading further. I'm like, oh, I know who these characters are now. What does it say, CM?
It is a postcard, as you said, from Audrey's brother, and he and his wife and 3 children were driving through Nevada and something
Oh.
amazing happened. And like there's this huge breakthrough with Seth, who we don't know yet. And I didn't realize listening to this initially that we have the postcard here, because obviously on Audible you don't get that part. So listeners, read it and listen to it. Do extra work.
This book is one you should get the physical.
Yeah, you should.
So you can see these details.
Yeah, the clippings that appear between each chapter are really cool. A very interesting way to parcel out information that you're like, when you read it, why is this
nothing.
here? Especially one we'll get to is kind of a like mind fuck. But after that, we get to the first chapter, which takes place on Poplar Street at 3:45 p.m., July 15th, 1996. As a note, I was 8 years old. What were you guys up to when the Regulators happened?
Getting a time, like getting a date in a book tells me one thing, but when a book gives me a timestamp also, it makes me so fucking hyped. Because you know you have to keep track. It tells me I'm going to have to keep track of how much happens in a given space.
Yeah, for me, it was the fact that the timestamp doesn't move very much.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
Yeah. The entire 4 chapters, I wrote down the note, the entire 4 chapters that we are covering here today take place in less than a half an hour.
Holy
so
shit.
quick, yeah.
It's so quick and so brutal.
We start out first by meeting the neighborhood itself. It's kind of the neighborhood, like you said, CM is a character, but it's almost the idealized version of the Midwest in the 1990s.
Yeah.
It's like it gives you a feel of one of those towns, like a nuclear testing site. Just very self-contained. Like, is this even real? Everything seems idealized right now.
I thought of the town from Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Everything's just bright pastel colors and everyone's got big, creepy black hole sun smiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It reminded me of the opening and closing narration from one of my favorite Bachman books, Needful Things.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. The like, oh, you're just rolling into town.
Let me take you on a tour.
Yeah, it's a geezer of a summer.
Yeah.
The language is extremely like, okay, this is happening in Ohio. Why is there an old wizened man from Maine here?
Because of the way a Bachman story is going to go, the fact that we open in such a picturesque Americana area made me so nervous. I was uneased immediately.
Yeah, maybe we're only 4 chapters in. I feel this desperation have opposite feelings than normal.
Yeah.
This feels more the way Bachman writes when he's writing his King. You know, it's a large cast. Well, I mean, Desperation was too, I guess.
But it doesn't seem as cruel already.
Yeah, not yet. Because I like almost all of the characters. Almost.
I'm excited for 2 of them to die. I hope they die.
Yeah, I think we have the same too. But we have this this is a hard chapter to summarize.
It is.
Because it's just
introducing all the people who live on the street.
And it's so leisurely.
Yes.
It is taking its time to get to the stuff that really matters. It's setting the scene of feel how peaceful you feel now, because you're not going to feel that again.
Now, since we haven't even landed on a character yet, we're still in the introduction of the street. How was it for you guys hearing these names again after coming off of desperation.
Very upsetting.
In one case.
I know that you guys are into it, and I don't know what my problem is with words, but it took me like 3 times listening through the intro to finally set aside the characters from desperation and just be in it. It's like I had been given a rule and this information, and then it all changed.
Yeah, I think it's a super fascinating choice. We should explain what's happening.
Yes, yeah.
So, if you don't know, we didn't talk about this during our desperation episodes. I think we mentioned
it during the
referred to
movie
it.
episode a little bit.
Sure. But Desperation and The Regulators were written side by side by Bachman. And this was years after he had retired the King persona, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the lore, which is in the foreword of this book, is that, King's widow, Tabitha, bless her, found the finished manuscript for Desperation in a trunk and that she was like sending off to a collector or whatever. Sent it to Bachman, who then copy edited it. He says that he changed only the stuff to update the references because it was originally written in the 80s, big finger quotes. So he updated Ethan Hawke.
Rob Lowe to Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke.
That's good.
It's such a weird bit.
I know.
Why do it this way?
I think it's great.
I love it. I absolutely, because it's a challenge. And I feel like the characters from one book, they don't, I don't know, the way it colors your perception in this book. And I think it's the correct order to read them in.
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
Desperation.
Absolutely.
I read it the opposite way when I read these first way. And the reveals don't hit nearly as hard.
Interesting.
I bet.
Because you wait most of the book to find out who Carrie Ripperton is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, you don't find out.
Yeah.
But right here, he's the first character we meet, the paperboy.
The 16-year-old paperboy.
Weird.
Yeah.
There's no mirroring.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a twinner book. It is a full-on different reality.
I think that's what threw me off because it's like nothing made sense. I
They
didn't know. I
weren't
couldn't
as
follow.
direct.
Yeah, I couldn't follow the rules, so I didn't know what to expect from each character as they came. Also, I did not appreciate that 2 siblings are now husband and wife, and their parents are their children.
The Carvers situation, the name swap is something else.
Come on, Bachman.
I love it. It works. It works as a reveal. It is written in such a way that you are obviously supposed to read this book second.
Yes, 100%.
Because it sets up these 2 small kids, an 11-year-old girl and her 6-year-old shitty little brother.
And I thought I knew who those characters were.
You're right. They walk into a convenient mart that is at the bottom of the hill on Poplar Street. And there is a young girl behind the counter with 2-tone hair. And you go, whoa, cool.
Yeah.
You know who that is. But they have this conversation. It's actually kind of cute. I like this interaction.
It's really nice.
As a side note, I think this is some of Bachman's best writing for children.
Yes.
Like really since Clown. It's one of my favorite. We covered Clown, right?
Yeah, we covered
It's been
Clown.
a few years.
It's been.
That one where Georgie Denbrough's little brother gets killed
Oh,
by the
you
clown.
mean that?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I always call it Clown.
It's that. Yeah. Fucking nailed it.
What was I saying? So
the writing of the children,
is great
because Ralph is so fucking annoying as this bratty little brother. I love the Margaret the maggot, and then she introduces herself as Ellen and saying Margaret's my middle name.
She's so
it's so
dignified. Yeah.
She wants to see. It's clear that this like 11-year-old girl wants this punk rock cashier to think she's cool.
Yes.
It's cute.
And I love that Cynthia catches on to that because she's like, yeah, I had a little annoying little brother. And this is a big deal to her.
Yeah.
There's this awesome quote I wrote down that Cynthia is watching them and she sees that it's honestly getting like Ellie, who we find out, is like kind of embarrassed. And she thinks this girl is a prisoner of her time and her age, which means all of this is perfectly serious to her.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yes, it is.
The perfect explanation of that experience of being a child. It's great. So they're talking, having this really cute interaction. And then Cynthia says, hi, I'm new here. My name's Cynthia. And you go, yeah, obviously. And then they say, hi, I'm Ellie Carver. And you're like, what? It's why? This book is just all absolutely nuts choices.
Do you think Bachman put a bunch of names in a hat and then just grabbed him? He's like, yep, that one's the kid. Who's the other kid? Oh, there we go.
I don't know, because everyone else is at least a little partly one-to-one, right? Maybe not Peter and Mary. Like, we haven't really learned that much about Peter and Mary. And we didn't really in the first book either.
True.
I think that the Carver name swap is for the, as we said, the reveal of going from desperation to regulators, because before the reveal that her name is Ellie, we get the Margaret the Maggot, and I didn't remember Pye's name. It's Kirsten, but I didn't remember that offhand. So in my head, I was still on board with, oh, that's interesting. So the little sister is now the older one. I thought that's where we were going, and I think that it's for that hit, for her to be like, I'm Ellie, and you're like, that cannot possibly be true. You're supposed to be angry.
And and it doesn't get to you right away until you meet the parents and go, oh, right.
Gross.
Oh, gross. Right. It changes the fact that they make the same observation that no one knows why David calls her Pye.
Yeah.
And it's like, it changes it so much because in desperation, it's like, oh, it's that like cute little secret sibling thing, whatever.
That was a big deal in desperation.
Yeah.
That's why I'm grossed out.
And exactly. And it becomes very much like a husband and wife. It's a different context. It's weird.
Okay, she's just a pie.
It's Josh's fault.
My fault?
What'd you do?
When we covered Thinner.
Oh, I ruined Pie for the podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, we actually don't meet David and Pye just yet. We move on to Carrie Ripperton at the top of the street delivering the papers.
I can't with like the idea of the Carrie Ripperton we knew, and then that name being attached to this happy, aspiring shortstop who just wants to bang that redhead and is scared of Colleen Trajan. What a sweet boy.
Yes.
I think it's interesting because him being the first character that we meet. Or do we meet him before? Maybe he isn't the first character.
He's the first character that we get
referenced.
Their narration through. Like, we get all of what Carrie's experience is.
Right. Him being set up where you're like, I think one of you said that it's the letting us as the reader know, like, this is different.
Yeah.
And it also lets you know to what level, because we don't get a lot of time with Carrie Ripperton. But we do get him driving down the street, and the first house he delivers to is Brad and Belinda Josephson. They are great.
Yeah. The only real note we get from that beginning part is that Brad looks kind of like Bill Cosby.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A reference that didn't age well.
Yeah.
Also, the whole, like, there's this short thing where they're like, they're black, and they're black in the way that white people like their black people. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
There's some very, this was written in the 90s bits, because he says yo a few too many times, and there's some not great things. But characteristically wise, I love them.
Brad, I really like Brad.
Yeah, they're just friendly people, and we learn more about them later. But next, he delivers to their neighbor across the street. I'm looking at our map. Yes, one and only John Marinville. I tried so hard to make him an asshole in my head.
I did too, and it is impossible so far.
The closest I could get it is, he's singing and playing the guitar on his front step. He has neighbors. And then I'm like, wait, no, that's actually nice. I would actually enjoy that. He's sitting out front playing the guitar. We get a funny aside that he paid Carrie not to deliver the paper to him.
I love that.
That bit feels like Johnny Marinville.
Yeah.
That feels like it belongs.
We move on to Gary and Marielle Soderson, our first.
I hate them so much.
Ooh, they're rough.
It's, you know what?
I was so ashamed though, because Gary is like this mostly drunk all the time, but kind of like nice guy that people don't mind. And his wife is just this huge bitch. And he's thinking about her in the shower, is soaping her breast. And he's like, and maybe she like
so weird
caresses her nipples. And as I was thinking, yeah, because that's what women do. Bachman was like, yeah, because that's what women do. It was great.
One of the many reasons I hate these characters so much is they remind me so much of the alpha couple from all those songs by my least favorite. I hate this band so much. The Mountain Goats fucking suck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've said it time and time again.
It's exactly the same. It's this couple who hates each other and still stays together because the dude's a drunk and they're codependent. It's terrible. Gary has this moment where he's out by the garage, or he's out behind his house drinking straight gin.
Yeah.
And proud of it. He has a whole routine. A cool bit.
Oh, wait. Jack Sawyer's mom.
Lily
Sawyer. That's the ritual. Because that's how she describes her gin order. I knew that vermouth being adjacent to it was a bit from something, and it just clicked just now.
Good pull.
Yeah,
that's a good pull. I never would have gotten that.
So he drinks like a C-list film actress is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, that makes me like him a little better.
But there's this bit where he's listening to Johnny play music, and he very briefly has this thought where he thinks of, quote, the reality of time's passage, how stark it is and unappealable. It passes the ear with a sound like iron. And then he's like, I'm going to go fuck my awful wife. It's such a... he's so unlikable.
He contains multitudes.
He's edging.
He calls her a dragon. It's like, no wonder she hates you.
No shit, yeah.
Next we get House 248, The Carvers. David is out front washing his car in a Speedo.
Why?
This seems mean.
He's just so soapy this entire opening section.
I didn't notice that until like 2 chapters from now when they're out standing in the middle of the street and someone's like, he's covered head to toe in soap. And I'm like,
just wearing a Speedo.
I loved it. I thought that was such a great small window.
Yeah, I also, this chapter's very economical. Is that the word I'm looking for? In the way it gives you characterization for all these characters. Like you get them. You feel like you get a good sense of them as people. Because Carrie has this little interaction. He throws the paper to David, and David gives him finger guns. And he calls it Mr. Carver's crippled but game effort to be cool. And then thinks about how he will never wash his car and he's going to get a cool motorcycle like Johnny.
Yeah, I love that he talks about a 9-to-5 job as an affliction that happens to some people.
It's so good.
It's so cute.
It's at this point that Carrie notices behind him a big red van parked on the corner at the top of the street.
Didn't think anything of it. That was
and
my mistake.
Interestingly, it is then followed up immediately by our first thing that our red herring, basically. If is that how you all felt?
Interesting.
Because it's the first thing in the entire book that feels off.
Yes.
He reaches Audrey Weiler's house, and it is the first house that looks kind of cruddy. Like the grass is dying. It's
Needs painted.
And as he's about to throw the paper, he sees the outline of Mrs. Weiler standing in the doorway topless.
What an unbearably upsetting thing to see. In that setting, like on a bright sunny day, when you're just delivering the paper and everybody is out.
Yeah, and she's just staring blankly ahead. It is eerie.
Yeah. And she's she's far enough back that he's only pretty sure he can tell. And that vagueness is so specific in how vague it is that it makes it haunting.
Yeah.
And as we learn what is about to happen, the fact that this happens immediately after he sees the red van for the first time.
Oh shit, I didn't even piece that part together.
It's
God, Audrey's
poor Audrey.
oh my God,
man.
it's a nightmare.
Because in this
That's not even we're not even going to reach this.
Ben.
Never mind. Cut that. I don't read ahead.
No, Ben, you
always
everybody
read ahead.
knows you read ahead.
Every
episode,
time.
yeah.
And I'm so good with names.
God, yes. I wish CM sometimes doesn't even finish the reading before
That's
she shows
true.
up. It's finding out that Audrey, we've gotten very little glimpses when Carrie gives rundowns of people, but when he is processing this, he's thinking about like she took in her nephew because there was a tragedy in the family, and it's rumored that her husband committed suicide last year.
He's like a really nice guy, gave him a gift.
And he died right around the time that the Hobarts across the street started, quote, when the Hobarts had that trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, there's an abandoned house.
There's an abandoned house that we haven't gotten to.
Between Peter and Mary Jackson and the house at the end of the block, which, well, we've already said the name, but we'll get to it.
Audrey just can't catch a break is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
As he moves past, he sees behind him a car coming up, and it is Peter Jackson from 244, who, of course, lives with his wife, Mary, who is great.
Hey.
Who?
I have my note for Peter is a professor and loves the phrase bad boy. He's
That's true.
wearing a t-shirt that says bad boy on it, and he calls Carrie a bad boy, and he made me uncomfortable.
He seems like Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. They're the normies on the block.
He's got like a smiley face thing on
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a dork. Whatever. I never cared about Peter anyway.
I'm interested to know if that changes by the end of this.
That's true. Yeah, well, we get so little of Peter in the first book, so maybe I just have no attachment to him.
Could be.
Anyway, at that moment, Carrie is jump scared by a dog named Hannibal. It'll be fine. And then moves on to 245, The Reeds. Out front, two twins, Jim and Dave Reed, are playing Frisbee, and there are two young ladies with them.
The twin boys are like 18.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah.
They're kids, but they're teenagers. Because I got lost in this too. I had to go back. I'm like, wait, are they adults or?
I definitely had the feeling of them.
Yeah, they're in
as,
high
like,
school.
16. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're, if they're at youngest, I think 17.
Yeah, I think they're seniors in high school.
Yeah, because Carrie's 14, and then I think Susie's 16, and the other redhead girl is 17, and the boys are older. Something. There was something in the reading that made me piece those numbers together. But I kept thinking all kids at first.
Yeah, they're not adults. I mean, the two boys are described as pretty fucking hot. So that's why I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, the moment later on where Belinda Josephson is like, the Reeds, fantasy of all housewives. I'm like, uh-oh, bad touch. Don't like it.
She's just always wanted to be a Chinese finger trap.
Oh, no.
Sorry, what?
Oh, no.
What?
Wow.
You can't.
I already did it.
I
did
defy you to do that. Upsetting. Let's move on.
I thought that was every housewife's dream.
Carrie impresses the redhead with some nuts and
Not like that.
and thinks about jerking it just right. And remains, I have written here, and remains unaware of his imminent virginal death.
Ooh.
Oh, spoiler.
Got classic Bachman.
I love it.
Foreshadowing.
I love
Yeah.
it every time.
Yeah, because he also has a conversation with Tom Billingsley, the town's vet, about playing shortstop and about how the next year's his year to be starting shortstop.
It is
and
a classic tasty omen,
yeah, tasty.
as we
omens,
always
yes.
say around here.
Yeah.
And at this point, as he is heading to the final house on the street, which he's terrified of, and I love this too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he is imagining the crazy ex-cop that lives at the end of the block. And, I forget what his rumor was, because everyone has different information about how...
That he killed a bunch of kids for allegedly raping another kid.
That's right. So he's imagining him running out into the street with a gun. And us, as readers, are like, oh, here it comes. And as we are focused on the specter of Kali and Trajan, the van at the top of the hill starts to roll. It's so good.
It's good, yeah.
And from here on out, man, the rest of this reading, it's
Chaos.
blow by blow,
Yeah.
pretty much. It's crazy.
It is. And there's even a quote that it says, things are happening fast now, although no one on Poplar Street realizes it yet.
I love that.
It's so good.
I also like that it briefly describes the red van in, like, it'll go to the red van, it'll say it has a satellite dish on top, and then the next time it talks about the red van, it'll describe something else that seems a little weird about it. So you start at first when it's brought up, you're like, okay, a red van.
Yeah.
I know what a red van looks like. And the more it gets described, you're like, what the fuck is this van?
Yeah, by like the fourth or fifth time, it'll say the van, and then in parentheses, is it a van?
Yeah.
I'm like, subtle. I love it. And before we move on to chapter 2, we get a newspaper clipping about the Guerin family, who would have hit me harder had I been able to read the first note, that all but one of them had been killed in a drive-by shooting.
That happened in the front yard of a house in a nice neighborhood.
In Denver?
And yeah,
Or it wasn't local, it was somewhere else.
It was somewhere
It was
where
in
someone
California.
in
Yeah.
Ohio would have had to drive through Nevada to get there.
yes.
Chapter 2 starts off with Steve Ames, who I have the feeling is much older than in
Yeah, he's
Desperation.
Yeah.
described older, I feel like. More like Johnny older.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a Steve, even if he's not older, he's a Steve that never got past to being a roadie for all those years that Desperation Steve got past.
He's just as good of a guy, but not as cool of a guy.
Yeah.
Yet. Maybe
Yeah,
he'll get
maybe,
cool.
yeah.
Did him getting immediately partnered up with Cynthia worry anyone?
made me really happy.
Because I have a feeling, if maybe it's just me, that I also imagine Cynthia as younger.
I did not. I imagined hers
No?
the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagined her.
Fair. Steve Ames had pulled into the parking lot of the convenience store. His yellow Ryder truck,
course.
The engine gave out, and he was looking at it when he sees the van coming.
Well, here's the thing. Funny thing about Steve, he gets psychic nudges from time to time.
Yeah.
You know?
I really liked
I
that.
fucking love that.
Because that's what Cynthia said in Desperation.
Yep.
And I love that Bachman gave that to Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when Steve sees it that we get the, is that a van? What the hell?
Yeah. Something's wrong.
So Steve is standing in this parking lot and he sees the van coming and he has this almost a spider sense because like 3 seconds before he hears the bang, he's like, oh shit, something is wrong. When the bang comes, I wrote down, Steve grew up in Texas and gunfire never got him erect. I don't know why I wrote that.
Well, storms do, but apparently gunfire does.
Well, that's right.
Thunder does, but not gunfire.
He grew up, it says he grew up in Texas, so when the shotgun goes off, he doesn't mistake it for thunder.
I really wanted to let you just live with that forever, but I couldn't.
I'm glad that you filled in that blank.
This
that
has been another classic Castle Rock AM explain Ben's joke moment. It's our long running bit.
Yeah.
Anybody want to go through what happens next?
I sure do. We've been hyping up throwing this last newspaper to Kali and Trajan's doorstep, and Carrie is so freaked out about it. He rears back, and before he can throw forward, the window on the van rolls down, a shotgun barrel comes out of it and shoots Carrie Ripton in the back of the head, straight off his bike. And then the shotgun turns
towards Ellie,
because Ellie and Ralph are leaving the Easy Stop, and they see the gun come out that way. And there's this moment of freeze where everybody knows that the Carver kids are about to get shot.
It's extremely tense. Can I interrupt and say the part that made me laugh really hard?
Yeah.
This is 1,000% just a Ben thing.
Got it.
Because it killed me. I literally.
Okay.
When Carrie is shot off the bike, he is reeling back to throw a newspaper. So a newspaper tumbles onto the ground behind him. And Hannibal sees it. Hannibal the dog sees it and starts running for it. And the part that killed me is that Jim Reed goes, Hannibal, no! And then throws a frisbee in a random direction. Throwing the frisbee when...
I didn't even think about that.
Sorry.
That is pretty funny.
Just imagine someone in extreme distress throwing a frisbee. It's hilarious. The next time something terrible happens to me, I pray I'm holding a frisbee.
The end of 7, he opens the box and sees, and he's holding, no! And then he throws a frisbee. That's the in the opposite direction. He throws the head. Yeah. Ben, I'm on board. That it's pretty funny.
It's good,
but I do love that it causes Hannibal to run off, which ends up being the thing that saves the Carvers, is that the shotgun goes after Hannibal instead.
I don't want to sound like I want people to shoot kids, but if that was your goal, and you let a dog distract you, or did you just want to shoot whatever? Because whoever is behind this shoots the dog instead of the kids.
Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of playing on our expectations, because we always know almost every book Bachman writes has kid violence. And so I think, everyone expects me to kill these kids. I'll do dog violence instead. And we're like, whoa, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's true.
If this story pans out the direction it's clearly headed, I have a feeling that it's because a dog bark is scary, and that's what it reacted to. Because the dog is
what?
The reason that it goes for instead of killing the kids, it kills Hannibal is because a dog is charging the van and it's barking, and that being a scary thing reflexively reacts because a loud sudden noise from a direction grabbing its attention.
More instinct than plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Like a weird like defense mechanism.
I don't want to respond to that because I have further knowledge of what happens.
We get it. You read ahead.
So all this chaos is happening. Cynthia had run out and tried to shield the kids. Steve, I'm usually so good. Steve pulls the kids into his truck to shield them. Everyone sprints toward the gunfire.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Everyone loves being in immediate danger in this book. They love it.
But here's the thing with the way we've established how quaint and peaceful this place is. The fact that everybody hears the gunshots, but nobody except for Steve's first idea is it's a gunshot. I guess Steve and
there's
Collie,
a storm rolling in.
Yeah, Steve and Collie both know that it's a gunshot when they hear it, but everybody else heard a loud noise and then sees trouble. And because it's that neighborly kind of community, everybody's running towards it because it can't be something as bad as what it is.
Yeah.
A few quick notes that happen in here. David and Johnny hear the gunfire, and Johnny mentions that he knows it's gunfire from his, quote, pre-kitty cat days.
Yes.
Interesting. And we also learned Johnny is disdainful of the idea of, quote, a serious writer. And I was like, fuck. I like Johnny Marinville. He's great.
But I do like that it adds he did spend time in Vietnam doing research for a book. Not the book he became famous for, but he was in Vietnam.
Cynthia thinks about being dead. She resigns herself to being shot before he goes after Hannibal.
That's the other thing that's it's Cynthia rules so much because she, in any iteration of her, she is that kind of person who she leaps forward to protect those kids with her body, despite the fact of thinking it's going to kill these kids too. All I've done is made him kill a third person.
Yeah.
She acts before she thinks because she cares so much. I love it. Hope she lives forever.
Me too.
And as the van is driving off, we finally get the entrance of who I hope is the hero of the book.
If he's the hero of the book, I'll be so fucking happy.
Colleen Trajan charges out of his house almost exactly the way Carrie assumed he would. Shirtless with a gun.
And only a towel.
Yeah, covered in has half of his face has shaving cream, and he's wearing pink flip-flops.
Yeah.
And
Love
he
him.
immediately aims his illegally kept service pistol at the van. And then only stops because he's like, oh, I'll go to jail.
That was also another really cool thing of, do I shoot or don't I? And thinking, if word gets out that I opened fire, there are going to be a lot of people who are really happy to hear that.
Yeah, he's got procedure in his mind the whole time.
Collie, we had Carrie's reason for why Collie was kicked off the force. And then finding out Collie's reason, I think, is really cool.
Yeah, I want to learn more about this because it sounds like he was set up.
Yeah, so some crazy shit had to go down because it says he tested positive for heroin and cocaine, having never done either of those drugs.
What shit luck. Like, if I test positive for something crazy, I at least want the joy of having tried it.
I love that's very cute that you called it, that referred to it as what could be bad luck. That you would test positive for and not elaborate setup. It would be the only way that happens.
Bad luck.
Oh, shit. I hate when I accidentally test positive for heroin.
Okay, that's the anxiety in me that I would somehow test positive for a drug I've never done.
Immediately apologize. I'm sorry, I don't know how it got there. Just a few quick notes at the end of the chapter. Everyone completely ignores Collie. Like, no one has any respect for the guy. He tries to round everyone up in the convenience shop. And also, as he's walking up the street, I like this characterization of Brad, that he's like huffing and puffing. Collie wonders if he needs CPR. And there's a bit later where he has a cute interaction with Belinda where she diagnoses him as big.
He diagnosed him with terminal thickness.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so good.
I could not read Brad Josephson and not picture dad bod Idris Elba.
Yeah!
Yes! Yeah.
I love that. I also made a note, this is the first time that Cynthia and Steve get to meet Collie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is the only time these three characters have ever been together.
Wow, they got so lucky.
And then there's one little note as everyone goes to their places for chapter 3, is that this is the moment where I decided, oh, I really love Colleen Trajan. This is a cool character. Is that as the Carvers are walking up the street, he's the only one that notices how upset Ellie is.
Yeah.
It is tragic how clear it is that David and Kirsten favor Ralph
That
over Allie.
little shit.
Like,
He is
it
such a little shit,
It's
too.
so much.
Yeah.
It's
As later on, as he's being carted up the hill in Buster, his wagon, Peter like mouths off at the kid. He makes like a cute little joke to Ralphie, and Ralphie responds with a jerk off motion.
Okay, that almost made me like this kid.
I was like, this kid's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Put a cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah.
Awesome. And before we move on to chapter 3, we have a clipping from the TV guide for the movie The Regulators.
It turns out it doesn't exist.
What?
Yeah, I was searching for this movie just in
Hold on.
case.
Really?
Yeah, this is a fake. Because the way it's written, I was like,
Yeah.
is this a real movie? Because Bachman's
Why is this blowing my mind?
I don't know.
It's not that big of a.
Because most of the time when we get a movie reference, it is a real movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited to watch that. Aw. Bummer. Okay, chapter 3, Poplar Street, 3:58 p.m., July 15th, 1996. It has been 8 minutes.
Fucking A.
And when this showed up a second time, it made me think two things. Why give us all this information unless are we going to leave Poplar Street? Why give the location if it doesn't? It kind of implies that we're going to go somewhere else.
Okay.
No?
I don't know.
And the second question, which I think probably the answer is no, is will we reach July 16th?
That's a very good question.
So I can't trust your questions because you've read ahead.
Yeah.
The trust is broken.
I've finished the book 3 times. So Kali, Steve, and Cynthia walk into the store as a blue van and a yellow van roll up to the corners at the top and bottom of the street.
I gotta admit, this is the point where I was like, these vans are a little fishy.
This is the point.
I thought this was like, there's some more to this.
I don't know. The red van had the super weird sci-fi element of its windows rolled down real smoothly.
And a satellite dish on the top. Of course.
Both equally strange.
Yeah.
The blue van, its tires are completely treadless, and colored lights flash inside as though they are on a control panel. What are you guys think? CM, you've read this. Yes.
No.
No?
No, this is
Is
my
this-
first
Oh,
time.
yeah, we didn't talk about this at the top of the episode.
Yeah.
No, my first time.
This rules. What do you guys think is going on? What at this point? What was your theory?
There's something to do with references we got in Desperation about the TV show that Pi liked, I think, that I think tie into these vans, but I don't know how.
Oh, yeah,
yet.
Motocops?
Yeah.
What are your favorite?
Ben asked us
motocops?
what our favorite motocop is. Cassidy, for sure.
Good point.
I like the Dream Floater.
Yeah.
Give me a big pink car.
No Face, though?
Oh,
I
yeah.
love the villains.
The meat wagon. Check out that meat wagon you're dragging. Mr. No Face.
Someone's
guys are
trying
just-
for an episode title.
Just gibberish. Everything you say
I'm
is
so sorry.
gibberish.
Okay, so here's my theory. This is a 5 characters in a cylinder. Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, it's reminding me of the kid
Oh.
from the Twilight Zone movie who's controlling his whole family with his powers.
Ooh.
It's a
That's-
Wonderful Life.
That's the feel
Yeah.
that this
Mary.
story is giving me right now.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say who is right.
Okay.
All right.
But we get a hint at the end of this chapter. So these weird vans are coming up. Gary and Marielle suck. They've been married for 9 years, and I hate them.
I'd like them to die as soon as possible, please.
And at this point is the first time I wrote everyone is just milling around in the street. Go inside. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
The danger's past. The red van's gone. This is also when we get the reveal of Pat the Kitty Cat author, Johnny Marinville. His cat detective is what his children's
Yeah.
books are.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. And I love that it makes him still a national book award winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is Johnny's the one who decides to do something first and runs inside to call the cops. And first it rings, and then not like an automated message answering, but instead a very dirty rhyme.
Ooh, I hated it.
It's
so
creepy.
bad.
I don't know what this itty bitty baby schmitty thing that is happening.
No clue.
I don't have a theory that fits that part into it yet.
Yeah.
Because it grosses me out so
It's
hard.
so upsetting.
I hate it.
Yes.
But it's just Johnny picks up the phone to call the police, and it's a voice that he said it sounds familiar even though it couldn't possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And they sound sick somehow, like they have like a stuffy or scraggly voice.
Don't you call here no more, you old fool. Tack.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck.
Drops a tack. And
That gets me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then the lines are completely silent when he picks up the phone to call again. So that was his one phone call.
Ugh.
Yeah, at this point, it goes back outside and it kind of drifts around, everyone talking to each other. David catches Peter up and is still a sanctimonious, soapy prayer boy. But
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. You talked about soap earlier, and I was just imagining how hilarious that looks. And I just remembered, I just realized what you were referencing.
because he was covered in soap the whole book.
In both books. Oh.
Yeah, this was the point where it hit me too.
I am sick. Yeah, I can't be blamed.
Yeah.
You get a pass.
So I just wanted to ask, because like so much of the book so far, we're 3 chapters in, and so much of it has just been neighborly niceties. Mm-hmm. Does it work for you?
I feel like I have walked halfway down this street, and that's all that's happened.
Is that a positive or a negative?
Neither. I guess it's a positive because I just want to keep reading and figure out what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the first time in a while that I've had trouble
stopping.
Oh, no. Nah, I never mind. I do that all the time.
You always just plow ahead.
This is one of those small details, but in talking about spending all this time with these neighbors, if I remember it, the next thing is Peter wanting to cover up Carrie's body with a tarp. That's kind of like the next point. And so there's a conversation where him and Tom have a conversation about doing it, but the small detail that I love is that over in the Brad Belinda front yard where they're having that conversation where he was diagnosed with terminal thickness and she's giving him shit. Like, I love that she's like, you did not run all the way down the end of the street. He's like, woman, I did. Calm down. But he is still not all the way caught his breath, but he sees them grab the tarp, start to walk, and instinct makes him be like, yep, I'm going to go help too. And Belinda has to stop him. And I just think it's a cool thing that shows the kind of people the two of them are so well.
There's a small moment here while all the adults are talking where Peter looks up the street and sees the blue van and is like, something's wrong. And so does Ralphie. Someone asks, what did the van look like that shot Carrie? And they say red. And Ralphie says, yeah, red like tracker arrow. And we're like, huh?
You're like, yeah, cool, kid.
But later on, no one's listening to Ralphie. And Ralphie's the first one to be like, no, what's up?
I have clues. Yeah.
And the reason why is insane. But first, they go to cover up Carrie. We cut to Kim Geller and me looking at the map to figure out who Kim Geller was.
I did the same thing.
Did anybody else think the scene was weird?
I think it feels a little out of place just because that is the only house that hasn't really done anything yet besides the Weiler house.
What about you, CM?
What I thought was weird about this was it showed cruelty to the teen girl who Carrie had kind of liked so much. She just came off as kind of a thoughtless, cruel girl.
It's weird. They're way too excited about
to
this
see a
dead body.
Yeah.
For a kid who she was just like talking to a minute ago.
Yeah.
It was mostly the redhead, not Susie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It made me go, oh, something's wrong
gross.
there.
Yeah.
I was expecting, we have our Audrey Weiler. Because if everyone's names and stuff are switched around, maybe their roles in the story are as well.
Yeah.
People keep predicting a tornado.
Yeah, the storm has been rolling in. Like, they know it's supposed to be bad this afternoon, but it's been this, for the past 8 minutes, a ticking clock over us.
Well,
If
just like desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we don't see a tornado by the end of this book, I'm rioting.
Steve has got to get hard.
This is the time Mary is coming home from work.
Home, the changes to Mary Jackson.
Mary is having an affair with a guy at work. She doesn't even really like anything about him except his penis, which I guess would be a motivation to
Right, if
have
you're
an
gonna have
affair.
an affair, I guess that's
I
the
hope you like
reason.
the penis.
Yeah.
And she's not wearing any underwear, which is going to be a thing.
Which is inexplicably apparently important.
No, I love this.
It's
Sure you do, big fella.
The reason I love this is because everything that happens today has taken place on a day that nothing was important. It is just a day that you kind of think the consequences of this day don't matter any more than any other. And the fact that the reason she's not wearing underwear is because they were ripped off of her in a fit of passion and are lying under the hotel mattress of where they were. And if this were a day like any other, the fact that she knows she's going to go home, she can put on a new pair of panties. Peter will never have a reason to suspect anything else. So it's fine. There's no risk in doing this.
And then she totally panics when she turns the corner and everyone's just on their lawns. And she's like, they know.
I love that moment too, because we went through so much with Mary. And then now, like, we're going through something else with her that's just such a, like, more of a personal, internal issue.
Well, we don't get much time to consider this because as she turns onto the street, she's suddenly rear-ended from behind by a big, crazy yellow van.
Man, she got rammed twice in one day.
Hey-o!
Amazing.
Fucking nice.
And before we move on to chapter 4, this is the one clipping we have to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Because it's crazy. It is a clipping from like a trade magazine, I guess, about toys, talking about the biggest hit toy of 1996, the Moto Cops, and their big, crazy, multicolored vans, which hilarious.
Yes.
As we get more descriptions of what's going on with these vans, I have to see this cartoon.
I can read all the names. I took note of all of them. So there are 3 of them that we don't hear about, but so far we know about Colonel Henry's yellow Justice Wagon, Snake Hunter's red Tracker Arrow, Rudy the Robot's silver Rudy Toot, Cassie Styles' Mary Kay Pink Dream Floater, and No Face's black Meat Wagon.
No Face has no face.
No Face has no face.
Meat wagon. I feel like that would be the one I would want.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Even though the barely disguised Nazi symbolism is not great.
Not super great.
No, but that's also just like a cartoons from the 90s thing.
Yeah.
That was just a real thing.
Yeah.
Cobra Commander. Fucking, you know.
But it's like if a hearse and a Humvee had a baby, that's what the Meat Wagon is in my head.
It's just so funny that they're vans.
It really is.
But
They're
also
power wagons,
Okay, I'm
Ben. Show some
imagining-
respect.
Yeah.
I'm imagining the meat wagon as a food truck, I guess.
I just love because I can picture as a little kid that grew up in the 90s that had more toys than friends. I can picture these toys so perfectly.
Did you see the photos that were posted on our Discord?
What?
Of the Power Wagon? Okay. So for those of you who don't know, check out the Derry Public Radio Discord. We have book talk conversations on our Discord all the time. Join us. We had a listener post that they bought a collector's edition of the Regulators, and this specific collector's edition, there were 552 signed books, and each of them, I'll just read what it says in the book. It's a canceled check is on the inside of this book, and it is... This check was obtained from the Bachman estate to authorize the limited edition of this novelization of The Regulators by Richard Bachman. Of 552 signed books, the check number designates the number or letter of this copy. And this is a check Richard Bachman wrote to the Lincoln Tunnel Authority for $65 for a fee to tow a car. So that's...
Okay. The Bachman estate, that has to be a typo.
Right, yeah, like something's... and then that's the Power Wagon.
That's insane.
That's cool.
Chapter 4, Poplar Street, 409, July 15th, 1996. It's been 24 minutes. And this chapter starts with, he sees everything.
Okay, I love that this whole section we get from Johnny's perspective because it's Johnny's curse. Johnny has the same curse, and it's that he sees everything. He can't escape from seeing everything. So he sees the van is about to hit Mary with just crystal clarity before anybody can do anything. And the van slams into the car and then just keeps pushing it forward. And it slams her into a fence and then backs up and takes off. And Mary gets out of the car. Brad and Johnny see that the blue van, which is coming the opposite way up the street, the windshield rolls down.
That's upsetting.
Okay, I don't remember these details, and I cannot believe I forgot them.
It's fucking madness. Because then when the windshield rolls down, Johnny sees the ghost of a Confederate soldier.
Yep.
Who looks... I can also conjure the way he describes how they're lit as though they are black and white, but it's like they're being filtered through a light somewhere else.
Yeah,
they're
like the
almost
Frighteners.
foggy. Yes!
Ooh, yeah.
Yes, like the Frighteners.
Like the Frighteners.
Yes.
Oh, I want to watch the Frighteners. I'm going to go home and watch the Frighteners.
And then the other person, it's a non-human. They can't tell what this person looks like, but Johnny can say it's not a human person.
Just a quick note, the tracker guy is not dressed in a Confederate uniform.
Right.
The alien is. And he's dressed like an old-timey, like, frontiersman.
Yes.
Ooh, you guys. Sorry, I just have to say this in case you can hear it on the episode. There's a storm rolling in the studio.
How convenient, because throughout, this is the scene where the storm
the rain starts.
And which made me, it's kind of weird because why is the second time the significance of the start of the storm? I don't know. But it is very cool because as the windshield slides down, I love there's this little bit of writing where Johnny is looking at the van coming on and the windshield slides down into the front of the car. And the book goes, the windshield goes down, slides down. Yes. as though, yeah, can you believe that shit? And I can't because it's nuts.
That'd be so fucking weird just seeing a car drive towards you and seeing the windshield just slide.
I would crash because I wouldn't be paying attention to anything else.
Fucking crazy. But then we get another shot. And the fact that it's shotguns, it's all shotguns is something else. I'm dying to find out what the significance of that is. But shotgun fires off 3 times, and the last one takes the whole side of Mary's head off, and she flops to the ground, and Johnny has a clear view of an upskirt that she's not wearing underwear.
And
that's right. And that brings us to our favorite bit, a classic Castle Rock AM bit. Play the sting.
For
Pussy Palaver?
Clam Jam. Pussy Palaver.
I've never liked the name.
Pussy Palaver is the best.
I've always hated this bit. This bit always sends CM into a catatonic state.
The problem is that
that affected you in a very real way.
I just Something magical just happened in the studio, guys.
Play the sting!
Oh my god.
You guys are killing me
That's
today. Oh my
so
god.
good.
I can't handle any of this.
And it's just before I where were we?
Johnny sees the aftermath.
Yeah,
Yes.
Johnny's savvy, so he recognizes, hey, maybe what Peter doesn't need
Yep.
is to wonder not only why was my wife needlessly murdered, but why wasn't she wearing underwear? She can never answer that question for me. So he does the gentlemanly thing and discreetly covers her, like pushes her legs together so that he's the only one who will see that, except for
Gary.
But Gary's drunk.
Oh, we should
And
all know,
Gary's-
while he's been dealing with this, David Carver's been shot in the stomach also.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Johnny's trying to
passed over.
process this.
Because it happens I love
Yeah.
that because it happens on the other side of the fan. He doesn't
Yeah,
see
he has
it.
no idea.
It's so sudden and shocking to us because we're like, yeah, David, he's like the adult version of the David we
Yeah.
know. And no, he's not main character material.
No.
He's gone.
Yeah.
A few quick notes. I don't know if they're really worth bringing up, but as Mary is shot and she like spins and half of her face is Gus Fringed. And as the storm is coming, lightning flashes. And it is the second time in the book where lightning shines off of the eyes of the dead, of the victims. It's just cool. I don't think it means anything. It's just cool.
Well, and then lightning strikes the chimney of the Hobart house. So now there's a house fire to deal with.
So much happening.
Yeah.
It's fucking so much is happening in this all at once.
It's if I were in this situation, I get why everyone's standing in the street.
You would just be
Yeah.
I
turning
would just
in
be screaming,
circles.
"What's going on?"
Yeah, you're just turning in circles, trying to figure out where to go and what to do.
And like they had the Reed twins ran up and like grabbed the Carver
Ralph,
kids
yeah.
and got them inside. And I think the next time we see Ralph, he's like catatonic, almost sucking on his thumb, just whispering "Dream Floater" over and over. I think
There's much mourning and wailing in the street. The Carvers find David, Peter finds Mary, and they scream and cry. In the aftermath, in the chaos, Johnny notices that everybody's on the street, except for Audrey and her nephew, Seth, who she has adopted and is taking care of, and is oddly missing.
and then he looks up the street and sees there's 2 more fucking vans.
And Ralphie, again, is the one to notice and properly identify it. He goes stiff and screams, "Dream Floater." Again, a hilarious thing to scream upsettingly. And this pink and black van roll down the street. The van, the meat wagon.
The meat wagon. I'm more stuck on Johnny looking into No Face's No Face. Because when I thought No Face, I thought blank from Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
Not Void Face,
Yeah.
which is what we get.
Like
Yeah.
that guy from My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
With the Dream Floater and Meat Wagon coming towards our cast of characters, we leave off with a letter from Audrey Weiler to Janice Conroy.
Wow. This letter, we get a lot of very important information off the top. It's from 2 years prior to what has happened now. And it's talking about that she's taken in Seth, who is, we find out Seth is autistic. Seth loves motocops more than anything else in the world. And she also doesn't know where he got all these toys because she looked them up and they're way more money for these toys than her brother's family would have spent on toys. But he has these motocops toys. And things have been a little weird since she took Seth. And there've been some poltergeist-esque activity around the house that's been hard to explain. And the last time she talked to Bill, her brother, she notices that he seemed different. It was like talking to a pod person version of her brother, because the card that we read at the very beginning, well, some of us read it at the very beginning, that mentions a breakthrough with Seth. Instead of, like, there's like 5 exclamation points behind the word breakthrough. But when she gets him on the phone, he's very like, oh yeah, he was talking. We were driving through down Highway 50, the loneliest highway in America. You probably never heard of it. Past this town called Desperation, and there was this big pit, and as we're going past it, Seth strings together like 17 words in a row, which is, now that she has lived with Seth for as long as she has, she knows what an insane deal 17 connecting words are for his level. And Bill's postcard made it sound like something big was happening, but when he's on the phone, he just says that
He downplays it.
Yeah, he just like, yeah, he talked. He said that it reminded him of the town from Gunsmoke. Essentially, I don't remember what exactly he says, but that's and that he like begged us to circle back, but we couldn't stop. We didn't have time to stop. And she also points that out of like, if he made that big a deal, he would have bought that town and lived there forever. Like that's the excitement level. But now he's just saying, no, we couldn't stop. We had other things to do, and gives her that monotone blow her off thing for the rest of that conversation. So she never had a chance to get to the bottom of it, and points out that in regards to the police investigation about the murder, that oddly enough, the police still haven't been able to identify the caliber of gun that was used to kill the entire family. And Joe, the friends they were visiting, said that the whole family, except for Seth, seemed odd the entire time they were there. But who knows? And that's where we leave things off. That's this note. All right.
It gets crazier, y'all.
I'm so fucking excited for where this book's gonna go.
Me too.
I'm definitely the seeds are all there. The pieces are all out there to give me that, like I said, the bringing cartoons to life kind of a scenario. But I'm really excited to see where Tack enters into all of this, and if it's anything like the Tack we've known before. That's it for this episode of Castle Rock AM. Thank you all for listening. Join us for our next episode, where we will be covering through Chapter 8. For Benjamin Graham and CM Alexander, I'm Joshua Kahn asking you, what in the name of Jesus H. Soda Pop Christ happened?
Hey everyone, CM Alexander here. Thank you for listening to The Regulators, Part 1. We hope you enjoyed it. As Josh mentioned, you can keep up with us and others and have fun discussions on our Discord, which is linked in the show notes. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Derry Public Radio and Twitter at Derry Public. You can also email us at derrypublicradio@gmail.com. That's all for now, listeners. Goodbye.